So you got a set of fenders and inner fenders, and you want to install them. We're going to do it today. You're in luck. You're going to need some tools. A ratchet, an 8 and a 10 mil, some scissors, variety of panel pullers, smaller drill and an 8 mil, and you will need a 25/64 drill bit that is equivalent to 10 millimeter. We are installing a set of Aries tube fenders and inner fenders. Any fender for the Jeep Gladiator is going to be very, very similar to this. There may be a couple little differences. You can do this. You got it. Step one is going to be removing our old fenders and inner fenders. Fairly easy to do. Let's get stuck into it. First step in removing the front fenders. There are 4 10 millimeter bolts and 1 panel clip. If you were removing just the fenders and you were going to keep the inner fenders and fenders separate, there would be a lot more stuff. But the easiest way to tear this down is just to remove the 4 bolts, the 1 panel clip, and we'll pull it all off as an assembly. 2 bolts are in the front and 2 bolts are at the top. The key here is to make sure that your car is really dirty so that you get dirt all over you throughout the process. This style of panel puller, made by Lyle. It's available at almost all parts stores. Big fan of these. If you are watching this because you want to know how to take your factory fenders off and put them back on, this is the wrong video. Count them 5 10 millimeter bolts. Don't worry folks, I'm a professional. Now that we have in fact removed all of the fasteners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5, sneaky, now we pull hard. Hear all that stuff breaking? Totally normal. If you were going to try and reinstall these fenders, I would not advise removing it like that. You would want to remove the inner fender first, and then you could get in, sneak in, and release all of these clips. Since I am not doing that, I don't care. To remove all of these broken clips, prying on these locks and releasing the clip. Piece of cake. This job is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving, because you get to find pieces of broken clip in your driveway for the next 5 days. This kit comes with replacement DRLs and turn signals. You have a jumper harness here. Lock it into your factory harness. Make sure the polarity is right, and we'll stick the jumper harness onto the back of this bracket. You will need to install the light before you install the fenders. You cannot connect this after the fenders and inner fenders are installed. The Aries kit comes with these turn signals. They install with a self-tapper. This is where you need your 8 mil bit and a drill. You will not be able to install these by hand. Self-tappers require a drill to be installed. Now we need to test fit our inner fender. What we're going to do is mark all of the holes, the factory holes, that this inner fender needs to integrate to, because we need to install nutserts into all of those. So with a Sharpie, I'm going to mark all the holes that line up with the inner fenders. All of those holes need to be modified to fit a nutsert. This is where we're going to use our drill bit to oversize these holes so that the nutsert will fit perfectly. As a reminder, this is a 25/64 drill bit or 10 millimeter. In my opinion, these do not need to be coated to prevent corrosion because this is an aluminum fender. Aluminum does not rust. It can corrode. I just don't think it's an issue. So on this bottom one, we're going to install a spacer in here. So when I come through with the drill bit, I'm going to continue through this bracket here. The goal is to strengthen up this portion of the fender, because as you can see, when it's not supported by something, it's fairly weak. So we're going to drill all the way through. So we're going to install this high density foam in between the inner fender and the car. It's only because this portion will be going up against the finish of the car. I don't care too much about the finish of the car, but this will help keep any noise and vibration down. The key here is to make sure you let your miniature helper do the rest of the work. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, you're up. Next, we're going to install nutserts. Nutserts are like a rivet. They have threads inside of them, so they allow you to install bolts. In our case, Aries gives you a tool like this that you can use 2 wrenches and crush the nutsert. That tool does not work as well as this tool. You put the nutsert on the end, we'll then put the nutsert inside the hole and crush it. Lowest hole that we drilled all the way through, we're going to install this bolt. We'll install a spacer. The spacer is capped in the middle and keeps from crushing this panel, which will reinforce it. So the easiest way I have found to do this, mount the inner fender to the lowest long bolt with the spacer, leave your connector out and accessible, and you're going to grab your fender. Your fender is actually very good at resting on these little lands here, but the inner fender is not nearly as good. And the challenge is you need to line up the inner fender, the nutserts, and the fender flare, which can be kind of a challenge. Set the fender on there for now, and now I need to line up for each of the nutsert locations and just get all of these started, and then we'll tighten all of them. It might be a bit of a task to line them all up. Each one of these bolts gets a lock washer and a flat washer. You don't want to over tighten any of the bolts that go into the nutserts. You could spin them. The nutsert is only so strong, it only has so much gripping force. The fender is plenty tight. Now we're going to move on to the rear. Let's go do it. For the rear fenders, to remove the factory fenders, we have 3 bolts that are straight in, and then we have 3 clips, 2 on the top, 1 on the front. We'll remove those 3 clips, remove those 3 bolts, rip the fenders off just like we did the fronts. The clips that you're pulling out are little Christmas tree clips. Fairly easy to pull. You can use a flathead screwdriver if you absolutely have to. It's not ideal, but it will work. These are the best, and then there's other panel pullers as well. With those clips removed, we just break the clips again. Piece of cake. Again, we'll go through and remove all of the retaining clips for the factory fenders. We'll just clean our work area, get that panel nice and clean so that the new component has a very clean, flat surface. The rear inner fender is slightly different. It has the nutserts installed in it. There's only a couple locations where we have to drill out the holes to mount the fender, but otherwise the inner fender itself goes behind the pinch seam here at the fender, and it becomes the thread. With the inner fender there in place, we're going to take the outer fender and mock install it and look and see which holes do not have a nutsert for them. And on this one, it is only these 2 front holes. That was loud. I'm going to mark those holes. Those are the ones that need to be modified and have a nutsert put in them. So on the rear fenders, this insulation goes on the fender itself because it's sitting up against the body. This part is kind of a bear. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is the most annoying part of the whole job. Because the inner fender is behind, it's a lot more challenging to get it lined up. I found that the best way to start is to get the two front bolts, which are not integrated into the inner fender, they're just directly into the nutserts that we installed. It's to get those in and then start the challenge of lining up the inner fender, the outer fender, and the holes. Now that we got the fenders all installed, we're all done. Good job. If you're at this stage as well, go look like a superhero because you did it. These are a great upgrade. Lots more coverage for wider axles and tires. Definitely stronger than the plastic alternative that comes from the factory. You get more clearance and you get LED turn signals if you were a sport non-Rubicon like we are. So enjoy your new fenders. Go have fun. That's what's important. Before we finish this video out, guys, don't forget to go down and hit that subscribe button. We do some installs, but most of what we do is adventures on this channel, so go look at some of those. We like to have a lot of fun in this Jeep. We've taken it all the way to Alaska. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, leave us a comment if this was helpful. We like to make these type of videos anytime we're installing an upgrade. It's not really our super thing though, so if you like it, let us know so we know to do more of them.